Today marks the occasion that we celebrate a man that became the voice of a people and a nation taking a stand. It was a war of sorts that had been waging since the days that it began centuries before, when they were enslaved and taken from their land. They had survived a life of slavery and chains and being branded. They had endured the horror and hatred of being raped and beaten, and they had borne the massive weight of being traded and managed as a commodity, like property, and robbed of their humanity. You see, the perpetrators of these crimes portrayed blacks as less than human, or they'd have to turn a shameful eye away from the travesty of what they were doing. These weren't nameless lives and faceless bodies they were abusing. This was hurt and pain and cries that they had to face while they were doing it. And as humans, we're inclined to react when we see pain. When we see someone whipped and beaten, something happens in our brain. We're inundated with emotions that we can't contain. So how do we get around all that and allow such awful things? We create a divide when we make up our minds and we decide that we're not the same. It's not we, it's us and them. So it's no longer our problem, man. And it's so convenient to think it when they have different skin and a different face. It's so much easier not to think what it would be like to be in their place. And that's how they made slavery happen. It had to be about race. And slavery fueled the economy of so many of the states that they had to separate us as a way of maintaining order. So racism became a mechanism vital to sustaining a culture. So it's crazy to think that it didn't survive in the way that we move forward. But people try to dismiss our past, and they say that those days are over. And yes, we've come so far, but we still got a ways to go. And racism is so deeply ingrained into the fabric of who we are, it may as well be the crimson stain on the flag with the blue and the stars. It's an inextricable part of how this nation came to be. But the issue, it isn't limited or constrained to slavery. I mean, this whole country was founded on land taken from natives that we had encroached upon and then wanted them gone, so we forcibly made them leave. And after that, we've got the nerve to get mad that foreigners may seek a better life on the other side of some border we made to keep better control over land that was stolen. And as always, race is a theme. I mean, look at how we addressed the Second World War. It's plain to see. We only interned 1% of the Germans, but almost all of the Japanese. And there's so many more examples than that, but an important thing to see and recognize is that these differences don't just divide us racially. We often build walls between us with bricks comprised of the things we believe about who's up above and who and how we should love, and just the different ways to be. You know, towards the end of what was probably his most famous speech, Dr. King reminded us that he had had a dream. He looked to the future and he dreamt of an America where we would only be judged by the content of our character. And if that's ever gonna happen, we'd have to become aware of what divided us and decide that we no longer cared because it wasn't any more relevant than what color our hair was. And I know we've got a long way to go before we're there, but I think that we can do it if we rethink what inclusion is. It's not your exclusive club where you get to choose who gets in. It's switching it up to thinking us and not just you and them. It's not you being kind because you decide not to exclude them. It's to disregard what splits us apart because we're all human. And the truth is, we really need to believe that we are equal. And if that happens, then we can get past this. And finally, we will be able to stand hand in hand and honestly say, we, the people.